1918, Abbeville, Louisiana. A cop finds a baby left in a cardboard box outside an orphanage. Pinned to the blanket was the baby's name, Johnny Liebling, and his birth date, February 14, 1918. The father was likely a soldier home on leave. Baby Johnny spent the next few months in a hospital before spending the rest of his childhood in an orphanage. Little is known about Johnny's time in the orphanage. Some say he was a shy, awkward child. He kept to himself but found joy caring for pigeons caged on the orphanage roof. Johnny would spend hours looking at them and give each their own name. As Johnny grew older, the opportunities for adoption became fewer. The awkward child spoke little and didn't interact with the other children, making his prospect for being a part of a family distant as his personality. The clergy at the orphanage thought they found a way to get through to Johnny while furthering their own means. Johnny became an altar boy and started singing in their choir. His voice was described as one of an angel and brought renewed interest and donations to the spiritual organization he participated in. It would be the beginning of his journey into music and song. But something else rattled within Johnny. The battle for his soul, thought was won by his orphanage, was fought over by inner demons. No records exist, if there were any to lose, that recorded strange or illicit incidents there. His adult minders who looked over him and fellow children passed away at an unusual early age or vanished from orphanage grounds. Their names were never mentioned again. Johnny hones his musical gifts, picking up on rhythms and patterns into learning other languages. He impressed the clergyman with his choice in Latin and Greek, mistaking it as an interest in Western mainstream beliefs. Only Johnny knew his plans for his future. By 1934, Johnny turned 16. Unadopted, he ages out of the orphanage and makes it on his own working as a busboy for several restaurants. He learned to play the piano and was very good at it. Johnny was also very good at reading ancient Latin and Greek texts, believing he could be helped by supernatural energies. 1935, when Johnny was 17, he was an up-and-coming piano player in New Orleans. He studied deeper into the dark arts. His fingers moved faster, his voice more seductive, gaining applause from the dark and dingy bars of the bayou he had performed in. Johnny began his practice of fortune-telling. It would need animal sacrifice to help him see and decide which paths to take in front of him. In the early months of 1938, Johnny was hungry for fame and wealth. With the supernatural powers he had acquired, his vanity and pride led him to offer the ultimate bargain, and headed to a churchyard alone. With several ancient incantations and spells, he made an audience with the Prince of Darkness. Lucifer appeared in front of him. Johnny wanted stardom, and in exchange gave Satan his soul. From that day, Jonathan Liebling would be known as Johnny Favorite, and his career almost immediately took off. Johnny is discovered by Spider Simpson and is invited to join his orchestra. Johnny is given more than a salary, but a percentage of the gate. Later that year, as Johnny toured New York City, he befriended a guitar player, Toots Sweet. They performed together in Harlem at the Dickie Wells Bar, not too far away from a herb and medicinal store run by Evangeline Proudfoot, a Mambo priestess. Toots was a practitioner of the Obeah and introduced Johnny to her. Evangeline and Johnny were connected emotionally and spiritually. Though Evangeline saw the evil within Johnny, she couldn't help but be enthralled with his supernatural powers. Johnny exhibited a rare display of kindness and made a record of one of Toots' songs so he could give him royalties. Evangeline was Johnny's secret love. Only his fellow band members knew. But there was one secret they never learned about. Before the year was over, Evangeline gave birth to their love child, a daughter named Epiphany. She was born in a women's hospital in Harlem. Very few would ever learn who Epiphany's father was. Even Toots, long known for his big mouth, never said a word. Meanwhile, Johnny had to continue touring with Spider, However, eventually, he would return to New Orleans. 1939. Johnny meets Ethan Kruzmark in a Candlemas Eve party. Johnny was already a rising talent in Louisiana, far removed from cleaning up tables in seafood restaurants. Ethan Kruzmark was a very wealthy businessman, one of the wealthiest in Louisiana. He was a shipping magnate, owned a distillery, and a dog kennel. Kruzmark was instantly impressed with Liebling. He saw in him great potential, great energy, almost electric. No one heard the whispers exchanged between Liebling and Kruzmark that night, but a common tune was struck between them, one of the occult, where the powerful are protected the most. Wanting to win the affiliation of someone as rich and powerful as Ethan Kruzmark, Johnny invited him to a private performance, something Kruzmark could not resist. Soon later, at the invitation of Ethan Kruzmark, Johnny performs a complicated incantation in Kruzmark's living room. In front of Ethan's eyes, Johnny conjured up Lucifuge, Lucifer's prime minister. Convinced of Johnny's abilities, he introduces him to his daughter, Margaret Kruzmark. Margaret was already more well-versed in the dark arts than her father. Both Johnny and Margaret took to each other right away. 1940. His performance with the Spider Simpson Orchestra sets an attendance record at the Paramount Theater. Johnny was bigger than Sinatra before Sinatra. In 1941, he and Margaret got engaged. Their engagement was a society scandal of the year. Johnny Favor's rise to further stardom was unstoppable. So were his powers. He was convinced those powers came from within and not the Dark One. In Johnny's extensive library was a manuscript from the Renaissance alchemist, written in Hebrew, Greek, and Latin, with spells to transmute souls, to steal the essence of another. Johnny had thought he had found a way to duck out of his deal with the devil. In the short years touring with Spider, Johnny's behavior is noticed by the band. While his looks always come with a smile, he prefers not to be seen with his fellow performers off stage. He spends time alone in his hotel room or up on the roof, dissecting birds in the spirit of Roman priests to look into the future. Johnny carries a human skull around and would stare at it for hours, believing it gave him powers. During those years, Margaret puts up a fortune-telling booth on Coney Island and goes under the name Madame Zora. Johnny would make several trips there. Margaret's friend Beau, who had a booth next to hers, saw how much Margaret was really stuck on him. But Margaret wasn't the only woman Johnny Favorite paid attention to. There was Evangeline, the mother of his child, Epiphany, who was almost 3. Johnny attended the obeah ceremonies, with Evangeline as their priestess. Johnny learned much about their magic, and was initiated but never baptized in their ways. Before her death, Evangeline believed if Johnny had returned from the war, he would have been a powerful Ungan, a male voodoo high priest. Meanwhile, as 1941 dragged on, Johnny began to put his plan in motion. December 7th, 1941, a day that would live in infamy. It was also the day Johnny Favorite walked out on Spider Simpson with 4 years left on his contract. Spider was forced to cancel bookings, lost out from making a lot of money, and his band never recovered. Johnny returned to New York to begin planning and plotting his ritual. His research would take a year. New Year's Eve, 1943. Toot Sweet joins Johnny in Times Square. Johnny had spent a week preparing and reciting incantations. He only needed a victim, someone his own age. In the crowd was a young soldier. He and Toots took him back to Johnny's apartment, and the ceremony took place. With Margaret in the room, the young soldier was bound on the rubber mat. Johnny had a fresh, sacrificial dagger in his hand, reciting more Latin and Greek. He took the victim's heart and his soul. No one but Johnny knew the soldier's name. Johnny gave the dog tags to Margaret, who kept it in a canopic vase. No one else read the name on the dog tag, because they didn't want to know. Johnny, Margaret, and Toots casually stepped out of the apartment as if nothing had happened. What was left of the poor victim was given to the dogs. January 1943. Johnny's plan was to drop out and resurface as a soldier. He was going to disappear and steal the young man's identity. But Johnny had other plans in motion. He made one last call to Coney Island to break off his engagement to Margaret. Heartbroken, Margaret closed up her tent and went south to Daddy Kruzmark. However, before the month was over, he was drafted into the Special Entertainment Services branch. He was going to sing for the Army overseas. Johnny told Evangeline to take Epiphany to New Orleans and wait for him there. He would never return the same man again. March 1943, Tunisia. Johnny Favorite joins a troop show when an air raid by the Luftwaffe makes a strafing run and kills the entire band. Only Johnny miraculously survives. However, Johnny suffers horrible facial and head injuries. His face is disfigured, his memories erased. He became a virtual zombie. Back home in the States, the word spread that Johnny Favorite was killed. While some who still remembered him went out to buy his records, Spider Simpson celebrated with a triple Jack Daniels. After extensive surgery to Johnny's face, doctors could not restore his memory. He was going to be sent to a veterans hospital in New Hampshire, but Johnny's money, with help of his agent, put him into a private hospital in Poughkeepsie, New York. There, he stayed staring out the window with little to say. Later that year, New Year's Eve, 1944, Margaret Kruzmark pressures her father, Ethan, to get Johnny out of the hospital. Posing as Edward Kelly, he bribed one Dr. Fowler to release him and continued pretending he was still residing at the Sarah Dodds Harvest Medical Clinic. The bills were still getting paid. It was easy enough to fool everyone there. Margaret and Kruzmark dropped off Johnny Favorite in Times Square. His face is still covered with bandages. They let him walk into the crowd without ever knowing what he looked like. It would have been the last thing he remembered. And Johnny Favorite walked out of their lives, or so they thought. The world forgot about the crooner named Johnny Favorite until 1955. Louis Cyphre, escorted by his attorney Herman Weinsap, dropped by the private hospital in Poughkeepsie. After asking to see Johnny Favorite, Cyphre is rudely refused entry. A week later, Cyphre hires Detective Harry Angel to discover the whereabouts of Johnny Favorite. This was Johnny Favorite's Unauthorized Biography, quoting the movie and its script, referencing the source material Falling Angel by William Hjortsberg for background and inspiration, with some fan fiction in between. Like, share, or subscribe if you enjoy this content and want to see more like it. This is Mr. Synergy saying, lifetime contracts sometimes don't last as long as you think. Check out other videos on the channel. Thanks for watching.